Hello and welcome to Algebra 2. At the top of our page, we're going to start with today's date. Today is Friday, August 28th, 2020. Next to the date, we're going to put our topic for the day, which is factoring by greatest common factor. Great. Before we dive in, we are going to summarize three factoring methods. Reminder that you should be pausing and, if need be, rewinding pretty regularly here. That I designed the videos in mind that you are pausing every now and then to catch up. All right. Three factoring methods. So you should pause here and on your notebook write three factoring methods. Our first is when a equals 1. An example of this is x squared plus 2x minus 1. There's no number in front of the x squared, so that's an assumed 1. The other one we learned about yesterday was when a does not equal 1. An example of this is 3x squared plus x minus 3. A is not 1 because a is 3. A is always the number in front of x squared. Also, next to this one, remind yourself that this is the method that needs a box. The new one we're learning today is called greatest common factor. Next to greatest common factor, you're going to write always check for this one first. When you're doing a factoring problem and they don't tell you which method to use, you always check for greatest common factor first. An example of this is 4x squared plus 16x. Great, we're going to go to our first example now. Always pause whenever you need to, always rewind whenever you need to. All right, our instructions tell us to identify which factoring method and then to factor. Great. We're going to write example 1. You should pause here and write out the whole original problem. Always write out the original problem. Great. This is an example of a does not equal 1. That's because a is 3. I'm going to multiply these two together. We get 12. Factors of 12. I'm going to make my x. I've got 12 up top, negative 8 on the bottom because that's our b value. What multiplies to 12 but adds to negative 8? I can make that work with 2 and 6 if we make them both negative. Because negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12. I need a box because a is not 1. I'm going to color code our box here. This first term is always in the first box, no matter what it is, always. 3n squared, I can take out 3n and n. These blue guys go here and here. You can alternate who goes where, but it needs to divide properly into this number. So we look at our two numbers. Negative 2 does not divide into 3, but negative 6 does. (3n) times negative 2 is negative 6n. So that means negative 2n must go up here. And in the bottom right, I get a positive 4. We always check that this number matches this number. That tells you whether or not you're on track. So it said just a factor, and my final answer is 3n minus 2, n minus 2. When we write them left to right like this, it indicates that they are being multiplied. If you write it like this, that is incorrect. It's not being divided here. It's not being multiplied. I do not know what's going on there. That is incorrect notation, and it actually does not mean anything. When we write it left to right, that means they're being multiplied, and that's our correct notation. Example 2, pause and write out the original problem. Well, we know that we always need to check for GCF first. We look here. Yep, 16 and 4, that's the greatest common factor. First, we ask, what do 16 and 4 have in common? That would be 4. Then we look to our variables. What do p to the fourth and p cubed have in common? Well, this one's got 4 p's and this one's got 3, so we can take 3 at the most. 4 times what is 16? That's 4. This first guy here had 4 p's. We took 3 away, so it's got 1 left. This one over here was p cubed. We took out all of p cubed, and we took its 4, so it's just a 1 left. You can see that's correct, because if you go back and multiply these, we end up at the original problem. Example 3. Pause, write the original. We check for greatest common factor first. This definitely is, because 63 and 45 are both divisible by 9. Take out a 9. Great, that takes care of the numbers, but wait. This guy has a b, but there's no b on the other one. There's nothing we can do about that. Since the other one doesn't have a b, we cannot take it out as a common factor because they don't have it in common. 9 times 7 gives us 63. 9 times 5 is 45, and we did not touch the b. So here is our final answer. Example 4. Pause, write the original problem. Check the numbers first. I got negative 8, 24, and 12. What do those have in common? Those all have a 4 in common. We check our variables. X to the 7th, to the 6th, to the 5th. So we always take the smallest one, because think about it. If we took x to the 7th, x to the 6th doesn't have enough to give, and x to the 5th doesn't have enough to give. So we have to take the smallest. We take an x to the 5th. All right, 4 times what is negative 8? That's negative 2. This guy had 7 x's, and we took 5 of them, so he's got 2 left. 4 times 6 is 24. This guy had 6 x's, but we took 5. He's got 1 left. 4 times 3 is 12. He had 5 x's, and we took them all, so there's no more x there. Example 5. We check for greatest common factor first. Yup, I see a bunch of zeros, so I know there's something in common here. What do 50, 50, and 20 share? That would be 10. Let's check our variables now. This is p cubed, this has p squared, but there's nothing here. Since the last guy does not have a variable, does not share a p, we can't take any of them at all. So it's just the 10. 10 times 5 is 50. We did not touch the variables. 10 times 5 is 50, and 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. Last example here. Let's think about what happens if we have multiple variables. We have more than one letter going on. We're still going to check out our numbers, our coefficients first. What do 3 and 6 share? That's 3. Don't worry about the negative. We'll take care of that later. All right. This guy's got an a squared. This guy's got an a cubed. We take the lowest, so that's a squared. This guy's got a b. Remember, if we don't see an exponent, that's an invisible 1. That guy's got a b. This guy has a b squared, so we take the lowest, which is b. All right, 3 times what is negative 3? That's negative 1. He had a squared. We took a squared. He had b. We took b. He's got nothing left. 3 times 2 is 6. He had a cubed. We took a squared. There there is a single A left. Same thing, a single B left. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks.